Okay, I hope it is. Let's start with a word of prayer. Dear God, thank you for the opportunity to meet with your people around the world, for the opportunity for us to investigate together, discuss, and learn from one another. This is a precious time that we're living in, and we are hoping that we make the most of the opportunities that you so graciously give us. I ask you and I thank you for all of these things in the name of Jesus. Amen. Okay, everyone, thank you for again the opportunity to be here. Um, I have a quick question. Am I being translated? No?
You are not, and you are not being recorded, so you can speak as much as you want.
Okay, so I'm not being translated. Perfect. Just want to make sure because sometimes there's a translator over there. Uh, I would like to know if you people enjoy having, are used to the conversation, like we go back and forth among us, questions, comments. I would like to hear from you, uh, have it more dynamic. Is that okay, or how do you prefer?
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. We know we do that.
Okay, I'm glad. Um, well, let's start with a couple of questions, and I hope everyone can participate. Uh, that'll make it also easier for me. Um, so let's begin with the question of why why are we having this study today? How do any of you understand the reason uh, we are having these studies about the Sunday law? Why are we even talking about this? Who wants to go first? Any comment? Should I choose someone to answer? I'm gonna go by. Oh, Ake has. You have your hand up.
Yeah. So for me, I think it's because the we are in the period of Sunday law, and then also our understanding of Sunday law has to be more up to be updated so that we can clearly know how the Sunday law waymark or the events connected to Sunday law are happening. And we also know that in the past there was a way it was taught, more especially from Adventism, and then also there are changes that have come in, and then we need to know we have to connect the changes with the events that are taking place around us. I think that's why we're having the discussion of Sunday law.
Okay. Thank you for that. So we're having a discussion about the Sunday law because we need to understand it better, because in the past it was understood in a different way, and we have new ideas about it, and we need to make sure we are in the same page. That's more or less what I understand what you said, okay? Um, Yet I still have to ask, the Sunday law was about 2 years ago. Um, why are we still talking about it? that's a follow-up question for you or anyone else who wants to answer. Wanna have a go, Philip?
Yes.
Please.
Yeah, so why we're still talking about Sunday law today, and we had it arrived two years ago, is because the message, there are three steps in understanding message: the arrival of the message, the increase of knowledge, and formalization of that message. So that we can say Boston, Concord, and Exeter. These tell us that the message has to devolve. That same message has to devolve over time in order for us to fully understand it. So it falls back to the full understanding, or it's like it is swelling to a loud cry, and so it doesn't have to be standing at this at one way mark, and then we continue with the rest of the messages, because it is one dispensation. That one dispensation has to be spanned by that same message.
And may I ask you, Philip, is there something or several things in particular that you think you don't understand about the Sunday law?
Okay. I don't think there are certain things, or there is much, though I'm not really sure right now. But what I'm sure is the message has come, and we have to have one united voice on this message. And that one united voice, and then we now go with one united voice. So initially, when it started, we had different, though the same context. So we had different voices speaking a little bit differently from one another. And as we go over time, the voices are converging. We are meeting on the way, and so the understanding is becoming more profound. Members will not be confused, and people now have one core message as a Sunday law message. I think that is.
And in that process that you're speaking about, do you have any particular aspect of this message that you think we as movement or members still have difficulty either seeing it or accepting it?
Pedro, there is a little problem with the networks. I don't know whether you're getting me.
Now I was able to hear you. Should I repeat?
Huh?
Should I repeat what I said? I do hear you well.
Yeah, you repeat what you said. There is a little problem with our network bandwidth.
According to your understanding of your part of the world and members that you have contact with, do you think there is a particular topic or topics that are yet not being fully understood or accepted about the Sunday law?
Okay. Yeah, in part of in South Sudan, we do follow the message as it unfolds, and though many people are not participating online, but people are made aware by few who go online and get the message, and they get to understand the message from the people. So I think we are together with where the world is going, we are understanding the message of Sunday law the same way the world is also understanding the Sunday law. And of course, like others, we need to learn more and more of it. We can't say we are full about anything. Any topic is good to go, and we can that a topic that can help us to grab some concepts. That is okay. I don't know. I'm
So,
not sure I've answered you.
so I think what you're saying is, for the most part, you do believe that most members in your part of the world are updated and aware. They're aware of the development. So I'm understanding that you're saying there's no particular issues with the Sunday law message. Like everyone has accepted it and understood it for the most part. Of course, there's details that people may still need to either understand a little bit better, but for the most part, you're saying everyone is on the same page, both in understanding and acceptance. Did I summarize well what you said, Philip?
Yeah, I think that would be a fair representation of what I said, because talking about uh, the Sunday law has the message, the detail. Of course, there are always variants and people who have not really gone so into the depth of it. Yeah, and we want to hear from those people who are teaching the message. You would want to hear frequently in order to really um, understand the concept of Sunday law. You can hear it one, two, three, four, and many times in order to be better.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
So does anyone have a different opinion than Philip? Does anyone think that there are aspects of the Sunday law message that are actually not clear for everyone? I'd like to know if there's any other opinion about it.
I think it's very hard to like speak for everyone because people have different ways in which they perceive information, and then others are also they are also having challenges here and there. So if people have not come forward to ask their questions, then in most cases we assume that they are maybe satisfied or up to date. But of
Mhm.
course, last week I think we were asked to send our messages, our questions in advance so that you can maybe handle them during the presentation. But members are in there. What I can just say in brief is that the people are there. They have now joined. So in case they have anything concerned, they can speak. Maybe if they're in groups, they can say go to the front of the mic and then they can ask a question directly to you. So that's what I can say.
Thank you. Thank you. I ask you because I didn't receive any written questions. So because I didn't, I want to make sure that people ask their questions if they have. I can accept that's okay. People really don't have any questions. But if they do, that is the actual point where we should spend time together. I see a cow. You have your hand raised.
Yes, hello.
Hi.
Yeah, I've gotten something that I want to ask about the Sunday law.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's one thing that we've connected with Sunday law that I haven't understood well. I have teachers who have presented it on board, but still up to now I'm struggling, so I haven't gotten the clear understanding about it, and that is the connection between the Sunday law and the Quintus maximum gauges. So that's where my complication is, because I don't really understand well what is the connection there. So I want help maybe to be explained well. Thank you.
Thank you. That is an excellent question. That is a very, very, very excellent question. And I will tell you why I think it is. not only because I think it is, or because I also asked myself that in the past. I think it's an excellent question because as I've been going through the different regions, I've already gone to some ministries. That was one of the most critical questions I received from some people. Like they really haven't, or at that point, they really hadn't yet connected fully in their minds. What is it about Quintus Fabius Maximus Gurges and the Sunday law? It seems like
Yeah.
we were accepting this message, or we were still trying to understand it, and that Terry was developing her message. At some point, we all know we are here because we received different voices about the Sunday law and different theories. And some of you may know I am one of those divergent theories that were not in the same page as Elder Terry. We also learned during this process that this movement is now opened to questions and invites people when they have a different opinion, and the movement basically experience a process that we never seen before, which is let's sit down, I hear you all, let's try to decide with methodology which is the message that is correct, which aspects need to be corrected, etc. And as we went through that process, at some point I don't know how many of you accept this, but at some point we received the answer, or at least that's what we think. We received the answer. The answer came. We've been talking a lot about Revelation 17, adultery, and the bad woman, and that seems to be the most important aspect of the Sunday law. And now QFMG basically fell behind, but it didn't. We still need to find how does QFMG connects with the understanding that was developed in this process. So thank you for that question. We're definitely going to talk about it. We have Philip with the hand raised.
So I was also going to add a question that you're going to fine tune the question of the voting, like how did the voting become the new sign for the Sunday law? I would like to have you elaborate more on that to fine tune the understanding of it.
So I would say, Philip, I think you're saying this because within the name QFMG, the F, Fabius, was said to be about voting.
Yes,
and
definitely. Yes.
There has to be a connection there too. So let's say the whole question is, how does QFMG finally is one of the proofs for the Sunday law? I guess one of the questions that I have for you before we dive into that is, all of you, or I guess most of you have said that South Sudan, it's following up with the messages, the development of the Sunday law message. That means that you are all aware of what is the answer about the waymark of the Sunday law, July 18th, 1844, 2024. And I guess you all accept that. What is your main proof for that? I would like to know. But I have someone who just raised his hand, Deo or DU, Simon. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I greet you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Oh, yeah, July 18, we agree, but the problem, we don't all agree on July 18. Some people also pick their own month in the election. And that is what was not pointed out before. Is that in South Sudan, it does not mean that we are following that we agree on the date of the Sunday law. No. Some people also have the amount that they also pick of the apart from July 18. So that one now we also have to have some clarification. Why do we pick July 18? That's what I was about to also ask about. Because we don't all agree on July 18, and that's why I'm also asking, we need some clarification on July 18. How do we come to July 18? And we know election is having a lot of months. So how do we pick that month to be the month of election, to be the month of the Sunday law?
Thank you, Simon. So you're bringing up the attention, bringing up to the fact that there's still people who don't fully understand why it's July 18th, why is not November, why is not December, why is not January, etc. I understood your question correctly. I hope I did. Okay.
Yes, yeah, and that is what I'm asking. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So I'm going to share my screen quickly. Feel free to interrupt me. I'm going to be looking at my whiteboard, so I might not see sometimes if you raise your hands. Feel free to open your mic and ask a question as I go or add a comment. So let's try to, this is of course what I'm going to do now. It's also the way that I understood things. It is of course a recollection, a gathering of studies of the people that have given studies about the Sunday law, the whole process, the whole development, but it's going to be the way that I understand it. So let's begin with our 3 questions. So I hope everything is visible now. We have a question about why Sunday law is QFNG. So this is basically a question that tells us we need to review again Quintus Fabius Maximus Gurges and understand properly whether we were given the right answer since the beginning, or what is it that makes QFMG the Sunday law in the first place? Connected to that question is, how's actually voting related to the Sunday law? And then I would say connected to that, and why it's July? So these are all very important questions and very relevant. I will begin by saying, how did I understood the Sunday law first myself, and why I had to correct my own opinion. I won't spend much time on it, but I think it's part of my experience. I went through the experience of having one idea about the Sunday law, and now I understand it is July 18th. How that happened, how I moved from one opinion to the other. That probably may help also some of you see why July 18th is the proper day for the Sunday law and how the methodology was used to arrive to that. Any of you know about what was my opinion about the Sunday law before? Even if you don't know, do you remember what were the options of Sunday law?
The options of Sunday law, we had November election,
Mm-hmm.
And we had January, was it January 16 and January 20?
Let's put just the month. That's okay.
Yeah, we had January 2025. Yes. So these were
And of course, the only
yeah.
surviving one, which is July, the one that survived.
Yes.
Let's say that we had three options, and the three options were put into scrutiny. We we tested these dates and the story behind those dates. And that made January and November disappear. They were not proper dates for the Sunday law. I was in the past, I was here in January. In fact, I was the first person to arrive to the conclusion of January. I developed that study, studying Acts 27, and I made some methodological mistakes in Acts 27 that made me arrive to January. But you may ask, okay, you made a mistake studying Acts 27. You arrived to January, but how is it that you still arrive to almost the same year? Like July to January is only 6 months apart. And then the person who arrived to November, how is it that arrived to November also of the same election year? Like, how is it that all these dates ended up not being so far apart? That is interesting because even myself, okay, I'm listening to some people needing time for translation. So I guess I should go a little bit slower.
Yeah, it's only that it is not it's not systemic like being electronized, but yes, it is a local one. So what you do, they're just requesting so that you pause, you will be pausing, and then only that you will not know. So just
Okay, I will go a little bit slower.
yeah.
Sorry about that, Martin. Marin. I'll try to go a little bit slower. So what I just said is, you look at the three dates, and they are very close to each other. So let's talk about first why we agreed on the timing. Timing being the election cycle of 2024. Even when we say January 2025, it's still within the election cycle. I don't want to spend too much time here. I just want to say that all theories agreed on one thing, that the arrival of the new Trump administration was the arrival of the Seventh Kingdom, and that the arrival of this administration, Trump 2.0, would be the Sunday law. The end of the sixth, the beginning of the seventh, the transition. The point of the transition would be the Sunday law. We all agreed upon that. And we all agree that it would be the new Trump administration. There are ways to arrive to this conclusion, but the easiest of all is, let's move back in history and we talk about the transition between Kingdom 1 and Kingdom 2. How does the transition of Kingdom 1 to Kingdom 2 happened? Any of you remember? How did Persia conquer Babylon?
Oh, if I can come in,
Yeah, please.
yeah, Pasha conquered Babylon through drying up the great river Euphrates. And
Huh?
they come through, they dry up the river Euphrates and then pass through the river Euphrates and enter the
So
Babylon.
Philip, you're saying that it was a military action. Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes.
So it was a violent takeover. Second aspect we need to ask. The first one is, it was a military conquest. The transition had to do with a military action. That's one. The second thing is, what territory was Babylon and what territory was Persia? Were the same territory or a different territory? I will answer that one. We know that they were different territories. So it is the conquest of one country over there, this country over here, and then they conquer. They use a military action. So they are different territories. So because they are different territory, they use military action back in the day. And when we go to the other kingdoms, the second, the third, the fourth, we will always see at least the aspect of violence. Let's try one example. Imagine, this is just a hypothesis. Let's imagine, people, that we are in the year 2021, and specifically January 6th. And let's say that Trump and his followers, they succeeded with the attack of the Capitol. And Trump was president after 2021. So he was president here. And then he will be president again till 2029. You all know that there was violence in January 6th, but he didn't succeed. If he had succeeded, what waymark would be this? What do you think? Had Trump succeeded in January the 6th, of 2021? Just say it. Whoever thinks knows the answer.
It would have been a Sunday law.
That would have been the Sunday law. That would have been the Sunday law, and it would have been violent, like all the other transitions from one kingdom to another, the one that we just talked about. Now, the interesting thing is that it wasn't violent. He tried to make it violent, but he couldn't, because the nation of the United States works differently. If you try it with violence, you're not going to be able to do it. You need to do it in a different way. Philip?
Yeah, I just want to I was even that question took me off guard. I don't know how to answer it about January 6, 2021, because when I look at January 6, 2021, we had not even arrived to Paniam yet. So I was going to wonder how it would become a Sunday law when we don't have Paniam.
We would have made Panion something else. Something before, whatever that is. If he had succeeded, that would have been the Sunday law. I'm sure we would have found a way to make it, to find Panium somewhere else. But this is the issue with hypotheses, that we enter into paradoxes that we don't know how to answer. So this is just a hypothesis. It's completely theoretical. So it's not true. It didn't happen. It was never going to happen. But if you understand the very nature of the waymark panium, which is agitation, the nature of the agitation tells you that the issue was agitated, yet not complete. Oh, sorry, I put 2021. So that tells you that in 2024, 2025, the agitation was going to happen again. But this time it's going to be able to break whatever needed to be broken. But this is all theory. And what I want to highlight from this exercise that we just did is that the sixth kingdom of Bible prophecy, because you all know that 2021 falls right here, small, before the sun dealing. That tells us that the sixth kingdom cannot experience a transfer of power unless through legal elections. Just by looking at the event of January 6th, the seventh tried to arrive by force, but it couldn't. It wasn't enough. The seventh needed to arrive legally through elections. I'm not using any methodology. I mean, not methodology. I'm not using any Bible verse to prove this. I'm proving it just by looking at the events. The seventh tried violently in 2021 and not succeeded. That tells you right away they only will able to do it if they do it legally through an election. And that's why we have July, November, and January. because we believe that it will be the transfer of power, the arrival of the new administration that would mark the transition from the sixth to the seventh. And that would bring, and whatever is the beginning of that transition, that would be the Sunday law. So another way of seeing this is the following. Let's say, sorry, you need to, if we, for example, go to Revelation 13:10, it says, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. This verse, it's talking about, oh wow, I don't even know how. I'm sorry that I don't even know how to control my own device. I'm gonna have to close it.
Hello, Pedro. Can I say something?
Yes, please.
Yeah, you made an important point here about July, November, and January. And I think I have understood you. It means that July, November, and January, they are actually talking about the same thing. So first of all, July is there is the RNC, then the November is elections, then January 20 is the swearing in of the new president. So all of them are talking about the coming in of the seventh kingdom. The only
Yes,
problem was when do we start it? When do we start? And that is why the starting point is July. But all of them are relevant to the Sunday law.
exactly. Do you have a question or that was a comment?
No, I just wanted to hear from you whether the way I'm seeing it is the way you wanted it to be seen, because I've just realized that they were all correct, just that the problem was which is the starting point, I think. And maybe the understanding of Sunday law was a bit limited by that time. But I think now, since we have understood it is about the coming in of the seventh kingdom, it means that all those points are pointing, all those waymark, July, November, and January, they are all talking about the Sunday law, the coming in of the seventh kingdom. But the starting point remains to be July, because it was the first.
So yes, you are right. All of them are talking about the arrival of the seventh kingdom. But only one of them is talking about the beginning of that arrival. Meaning, January was about the beginning of the administration according to the Constitution. The Constitution says this presidency begins the 20th of January of 2025. That was the premise of January, because legally it happens there. Then November would say, no, it's not when it begins legally, it's when it is elected legally. And it was elected in November 5th. But then July says, no, it's not even there. It's when Trump became legally the Republican candidate. So you see that they're all talking about the arrival of this new kingdom, but they all three use very different ways to prove when is the arrival. And it is in the difference, not in the similarity. The similarity is what you spoke about. They're all talking about the new administration that will arrive with Trump. But when you go to the detail, they each have something very different that will change the story completely. And that's what we're going to try to do. So, I read the verse that who kills with the sword must be killed with the sword. Do you all remember that that is talking about 1798, the death of the fifth kingdom? And it is saying, because the fifth kingdom survived, existed through killing with the sword and taking into captivity, the same way that this kingdom remain in power is the same way that the kingdom shall be taken out of power. That is what Revelation 13:10 is saying. That's what I wanted to bring when I brought this verse. So we're good there. That is why in 1798, the Pope was taken into captivity, and then he died. And that all was done with the sword, military power. Why? Because that was the way that the papacy survived. The papacy survived through that. Make sense? So when we use the same logic, but now about the six, how the six survived as a kingdom? How the sixth kingdom stays in power? What is the secret? Remember, I just said the secret of the fifth kingdom is he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword. So it's by killing and by leading into captivity. Those are the secrets of the fifth kingdom to remain in power. What would be then the tools of the sixth to stay in power? You all know the answer. What is?
Elections.
Through elections. This is the first kingdom in Bible prophecy that stays in power through elections. All of the other were monarchies: Babylon, Persia, Greece, etc. And they all need to use power, military power, to remain in power. But the United States uses elections. If that is what the sixth kingdom uses to stay in power, how is going to be killed? Using the same logic. Through an election, Nathan is saying. So that is the basic logic. So what I just provided is two ways of seeing why the sixth kingdom had to die through this question here. Why voting is related. Voting is related because that's how the sixth kingdom stays in power, through elections every 4 years. therefore is going to be killed with elections. What we need to understand, what we need to broaden is our understanding of elections. We need to fully understand what elections is. And elections is not only November. Elections is not simply election day. Elections is a whole process that begins way before with something called the primaries. Both parties have primaries. It is the process of choosing the candidate. Both parties go to a convention where they decide which candidate is going to be. After the convention, that starts the campaign. The campaign is not only two people, the Democrat or the Republican. They are now officially the candidate. This is the campaign of the candidates. Then there is an actual election. And then there is an inauguration. All steps and the election, in between election and inauguration, this is transition. This is when one administration is leaving, making sure all the papers are correct, leaving the office ready for the next person. And then the inauguration. All the process, every step of the process is critical. If any of these processes failed, we won't have a legal transition. So when we talk about all of this is the election cycle. This is what we call, I'm going to jump ahead of myself. I'm going to say it. This is what we call obvious. The legal process of the election cycle. The whole thing, it's what? That is democracy. 5 years is the right to vote. And vote is not only the election. Vote is something that begins with the primaries, goes through the convention when you elect the candidates, allows a campaign to happen, have an election, the transition has to be peaceful, and the inauguration needs to happen. And when you have all of these things, you would say, well, that is a democratic transfer of power from one administration to the other. And that is 5 years. I'm jumping ahead of myself. But this is why all of you understand that it's not simply about voting. It's not simply one day where people went out to vote. There's a whole thing that needs to happen before, during, and after the voting. Anyone has a question or a comment, or we're good? So I'm hoping what I just talked about proves that the sixth kingdom needed to die through the election process, which is the whole thing that I described, and the seventh would arrive through that, would be the new administration. If that's all clear, we know that voting is related to the Sunday law. Now we need to, that would mean, I think, that means that the F of the name QFMG, it's answered as well. We still need to explain Q and MG and July. Okay, let's continue. So I'm going to tell you what happens. I go and I say, I used to say, I would used to say, no, I think the Sunday law is January of 2025 because I have 4 anchors in Acts 27 that tells me these points to January. I don't know how many of you know about that study that I made, but that would be a very summarized way to say it. I had a theory in Acts 27 using the anchors that led me to January 2025. That was my truth. That's it. I think I have a question. Let me read it. Hi, Pedro. Studies by Elder Parmenter last year on Revelation 13 and 17 and Daniel illustrated that the transition from the 6th to the 7th kingdom is marked in 1989. Studies in Acts 27 marks 2021 as the transition. Now we mark July as the transition. How is the transition of July 18 or Sunday law different to the previous 2? So, Kit, thank you for that question. I'm going to try to answer the ones that I have here. And if we have time, I'm going to give you my thoughts on the other 2. So I hope I don't forget if any issue, you just ping again. So I was saying, I used to prove wrongly using Acts 27 that January of 2025 would be the Sunday law. So I had Acts 27. And that would give me January 2025. But Elder Terry would say she also had Acts 20.
Pedro,
Yes, please go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was looking for this, I don't know how do you call it, to raise my hand, but I didn't find it on my phone. I'm supposed to raise my hand first.
Uh-huh.
This is Andrew. So before you continue, can you answer the small question about the election, the one we just explained?
Mm-hmm.
So we know we have an election before. Donald Trump have an election before in 2016?
Mm-hmm. Trump?
Yeah, Trump. So why do we mark the one of 2024 or 2025 as a beginning of the Seventh Kingdom? And we know Donald Trump has the election before. Why do we mark the last one, not the first one, not the past election?
Thank you. That's a good question. And it's fair to ask why that one. I'm gonna give you a very short answer without proving it. But I think you would agree that 2016, Trump was, even though he was a very particular candidate, he has not yet proved to be a dictator, to put it simply. He was just a person with some crazy ideas or crazy way to talk, but just a president. That's one thing. Second, he was still restrained, not only by people around him, himself. He was also contained. He didn't do all the things that he thought he would or that he wanted. And when Trump faced the imminent ending of his presidency in 2021, he proved to the whole world that he was willing to stay in power, even illegally, through force. And that is the Capitol riot. So this is the moment when the mask of the dictator was taken off. He is now showing himself for what he really is, but he was restrained. So that's why we know, even though he wanted to start what we would call the Sunday Law in 2021, he wanted to stay in power through any means necessary. He was prevented. So this makes us say that, yes, 2016 was probably one of the last actions of the Sixth Kingdom, the whole election, 2016 to 2021. But it was still alive. But the actions of Trump in the Capitol riots of January tells us prophetically and historically, and everyone knew this, if this person comes back, this is going to be the end, because we already know what he's capable of. So that's why the second time he comes back, it's more serious than the first one. In the first one, he wasn't known what he was capable of. But when he attacked the Capitol, then we know what he's capable. So when he comes back, that would be the full destruction of the Sixth Kingdom foundations. Now this is a new kingdom. I'm going to try to prove it now, but I hope that at least gives you an idea of why it cannot be 16. It wasn't complete. It's not simply the person Trump. It's when you know exactly who he is. And we know who he is because of all the things he did, especially the final thing that he did, which is January 6th. So coming back to where I was, I had Acts 27, and I was saying, Acts 27 tells me that it is January 2025. But then Terry would say, I also have Acts 27, and the study that comes from Acts 27 is 273, and that is QFNG. And she would say, and this gives me July 2024. I won't put November here because nobody had a study based on any model to defend November. So I'm just going to put January and July because they at least had some foundation for that. Then the time progressed and Elder Terry developed proofs from Daniel 3 and 6. And the messages were progressing. I'm not going to talk about how Acts 27 progressed, but we know that we are in the Sunday Law Initiative, and we are trying to decide what is the Sunday Law. Andrew, you want to say something? I saw your mic open. I thought you wanted to say something.
No, sorry.
It's okay. So I'm trying to tell you all that we are in this situation where, well, there's two theories. How do we decide which one is correct? They seem all very similar. They're all talking about the 2024 election cycle and the arrival of Trump again, the second time, which is a more serious, and we need to decide which one is. And I would say that what happened next, it's basically someone saying, no, we're not going to use Pyrus 273 QFMG to prove July. No, we're not going to use Acts 27 to prove January. If we're going to have a date for the Sunday law, we need to have a proof in the Bible and not anywhere in the Bible. Acts 27 is not valid. QFMG is not valid. We need to find it in the books of Daniel and Revelation. That would be the proper way. And if we prove it with Daniel and Revelation, maybe when we find the proof, this one will tell us which of these two theories were correct. So what I want you to see is that me, Pedro, I was using Acts 27 to dictate what Daniel or Revelation had to say, when it had to be the other way around. I have to use Daniel and Revelation to give me the foundation, and then I will adapt Acts 27. It's not the other way around. These are the prophetic books given by God, and Acts 27, it's something that we turned into a prophetic book, but it is not by nature a prophetic book. That is us doing application. That is different. Daniel and Revelation were made to make application, not Acts 27. Do we all follow? So probably we should have a small stop at this point so that we don't go over an hour, and we can decide whether we can have one more study. I'm sorry that I have to stop like this. I just don't want to go over time. I want to make a very quick summary of what we did. We're trying to discuss why the Sunday law is QFMG, why is it related to voting, and why it is July. I hope that we proved that the United States can only experience a transfer from the 6 to the 7 with an election. We understood that an election is a whole process, like the one described in here. And now we're talking about how we cannot use simply Acts 27 or the story of Pyrrhus to arrive to the date of the Sunday law. We need to use Daniel and Revelation. And that's why we need to go to Revelation 17. People talked about Revelation 13, the dragon and the lamb. People would talk about other chapters in Daniel and Revelation, like Daniel 11, entering the glorious land. But it became clear with time that Revelation 17 had all the components necessary to give us enough proof about the beginning of the Sunday. So that was a quick summary that I wanted to make. I think we need to stop now so the video doesn't become too long. And then if we can have more time, let me know. If not, we can stop.
Okay. Oh, thank you, Pedro. Hello?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
so
hear you.
because I hope you have covered a lot, and I think there's some other things that are not covered. So we also would like to know if you can come in. We give you a second presentation.
Yeah, not today.
Not today, okay.
No, I'm asking, can it be today?
Yes, I am meaning just we take a break and then we come back so that we come and exhaust.
Okay, how
the,
long would be the break?
I would say 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay, perfect.
Yes, 10 minutes from now. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay.
So everyone, we are coming back in 10-minute times. It is now 23, so we are coming in 34. We are coming in 34, 4:34. All right. Thank you. Let me stop. Pause. Record. We stop. Stopping the record. Thank you. Anyway, page we want to. Yeah.